Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Duff?
Here.
Newman?
Here.
Jeremy?
Here.
Kazanecki?
Here.
McNutt?
Here.
Nedrow?
Here.
O'Brien?
Here. Well, last month I thought this was going to be my last meeting, but officially this will be my last full meeting, so you're stuck with me for one more. We had a charter amendment back in 18, and at that time we decided to change the seat of council. Instead of the week right after the election, it's seated in December. So you're stuck with me for one more night. With that, additions to business.
None tonight, thank you.
Okay. Approval of the agenda.
Motion.
I'll second. For the agenda.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Correspondence and information. Press release from Oakland County Road Commission, geez. We had a thank you note from a resident on Shankin regarding the pathway that we put in. Michigan Public Service Commission video cable complaint note from Haven. Notice public hearing from DTE again. And Oakland Transit memo from Oakland County. And Oakland County market update from Realcom.
Make a motion to receive and file correspondence.
Second.
Motion by Newman, second by Duff, receive and file correspondence. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. First call to public, opportunity for citizens to address council on agenda items. Seeing anybody? Without that, we'll bypass the first call and move on to consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Duff,
Second.
second by Newman. Any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Kazanecki?
Yes.
Okay, moving on to 9, board appointments. First off is recommendation council to reappoint Lori Longbreak and Kathy Carrico to the Parks and Rec Board for 3-year terms expiring 12/31/27.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion on those? Mark, anything?
Good, glad to keep him with us.
Okay,
Great.
with that, let's do a roll call.
McNutt?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Kazanecki?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Item B, recommendation for council to appoint Kathy Moretto to the Zoning Board of Appeals as a full member for a 3-year term expiring 12/31/27.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Jeremy, I guess. And just note that she was an alternate on ZBA, so. Any discussion? Let's do a roll call on that, please.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Kazanecki?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
And, let's see, recommendation for council to reappoint Kyle Jennings to the Water Management Board for a 3-year term expiring 12/31/27.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Newman, second by Duff. Any discussion on that? Brian, anything? Nope, okay. With that, let's do a roll call on Mr. Jennings.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Kazanecki?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
And finally, for board appointments, recommendation council appoint Linda Schwartz to the beautification committee as a full member.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion on that? Might as well continue with a roll call.
Newman?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Kazanecki?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes. Okay, thank you. On the presentations, item A, 2024 Water Management Board Summary, and Mr. Martini's here, our chairperson from the Water Board. Take out the floor, Ryan.
You guys can hear me? You good?
Sure.
Okay, so I know most of you, but not all of you, so I'm Ryan Martini. I'm the chairperson for the Water Management Board, so wanted to just come in and at least review what we've been up to for last year. We're basically done for the year. We don't carry meetings in through November and December and January, so it's kind of a good point to come in and do a summary for council on everything we've been up to. So if you guys have any questions, feel free. Otherwise, I threw together some slides. You got a handout. I don't know if it's printed in color or whatnot. I managed to finagle this thing to work, so I'm going to work off the laptop and just talk about what we've been up to, all right?
Sure.
Okay, so the first thing we've been kicking off, this is kind of the second year we've been doing it, is a safety fair. We did it in May. So May 18th, we did it. This is the second year we've gone to Claire Miller, which seems like the right spot to do it. We did a little bit different this year than last year. Main stuff is we do a lot of life jacket safety. I set up a table there. We talk about all the different life jackets. A lot of people don't understand like the type 2 life jacket rules for children and stuff like this. So we do get a decent turnout for people asking. We bring some other stuff in to try and attract some people to it. We get a bounce house. We had like a casting competition that we did. We ran a trivia thing. Aaron ran a trivia thing. We give out some free food, so we do hot dogs and chips and stuff like this. So just basically trying to attract the people from the park over so we can educate them on some stuff. So some of this trivia stuff is safety related or rules related around, how far from the shore you can anchor and no wake zones and high-speed boating times and stuff like this. And then really we get a lot of information on the life jackets out. So I think it's a pretty good thing. This is the second year we've done it. We're going to try and change it up, lessons learned a little bit. I think we'll probably try and combine it with either a Tuesday in the park or the 5K. This way we have a crowd already there and we could probably get more information out to more people. This year we weren't able to get the police boat there, which is unfortunate, but they were busy doing other things. We had safety class going on, border safety class at the same time, so we got to make sure we avoid that scheduling conflict in the future. It's always good to have the police presence there and people get to see the boat and everything, so we got to make sure that that's possible. I think we could probably amp up the trivia. We kept it a little bit low key just to see if it would work, but I think we could probably build on that in the future. And last year we had this little knot tying station that we did because there's constantly people's boats floating around the middle of the lake, right? It's the simplest thing. Teaching people how to tie some knots, and we didn't do it this year. I felt like it was something that we missed. So, I think it's been good. We'll do it another year next year. I think we can grow it a little bit if we combine it with Tuesdays in the park or do something with the 5K. We could probably get more exposure. And it's not a big thing. It's not a big cost. We do it for a couple hours. We put some signs up in the village and get some people there. So I think it's been pretty good to boot it back up. Hopefully it grows a little bit next year, and then we'll reevaluate the year after that. So that was in May. We did the boat cover recycling program again, so the shrink wrap that goes on the boat, it's not recyclable through the standard curbside pickup of recycling, so it all ends up in the landfill. So this is the second year in a row we've done the boat cover recycling. We purchased 75 bags, and they're like $7 a piece, but we put them as part of the budget. We make it available for residents to come get. These bags are huge. You can fit 2-3 boats worth of shrink wrap in them, so I've put 3 boats in it myself. So we had 75 bags. We had 65 people come pick them up and return them full of covers. So you could put more than one cover in each. So we probably got at least 80 covers back. So it's just something, to get the recycling going. Good for the lake, good for the environment. Stuff doesn't end up in the landfill. So second year in a row that we've done this. It's a pretty good return on investment. I think we get the 75 bags. They're good for the next year too. And community seems to like it. So it's a good thing. Lake level control, we have, that's probably a little bit hard to read, but I could walk over there in a second. But we did install the Hobo Link at the dam a couple years ago. We managed and tracked the data. We've got alarms set up relative to where we are on the summer target, on the low side and the high side. If it gets too close to the target, it sends an email to myself, DPW. They get to know when to go out there and try and control the lake level. We've done a really good job over the past couple of years managing it. 2 years ago, we had a hard time getting the lake level up to the right level early. We didn't have a lot of rain. We didn't have a lot of ice. This year was good. The green lines here represent what the top and bottom targets are for the lake. The blue line here is really the lake level. So we're just trying to keep it between the green lines starting in May, going through October 31st. So for the entire year, we had 10 days where we were out of rain, and that was when we had that huge rainstorm, right? So we had a big rainstorm. We had the flooding in the street. We couldn't let the water out as fast as we wanted to. We spent 10 days high, which is good. 2 years ago, we were like 30 days out of range, a lot of it in the beginning of the year. So in general, we got a pretty good eye on what's going on with the lake from a level perspective, which is good. Stats on the side are pretty similar, right? When we get an inch of rainfall, the lake comes up 1 3/4 inches. It's just because it's all funneling down into the lake. So we could probably do a little bit better with, if we wanted to get a little predictive with the weather. If we know a big rainstorm's coming and it's within 1 inch of the top, we know it's going to go up 1 3/4 inches. Get a little proactive with it, potentially on the high side. But overall, the system works. It's available to all the residents. If anybody wants to have access to it, there's a dashboard. It's public. It shows you the lake level, the water temperature. You can get all this information. There's not anything secret here. It's available to everybody in the village. The big time that we had the over limit, right? We had the lake was 4.5 inches high, right? Because we had a ton of rain. But it was 10 days. We can burn that thing down pretty quick. If we draw it down, we can draw it down like 1 inch a day. But we weren't able to draw it down that fast because we had the flooding over on the road. We did the goose nest and egg destruction program again. So we've done this a couple of years now. We've got the history here. So this just shows you how many geese eggs we've go through the destruction progress over a year. There's 2 years here where it was pretty low because we're only allowed to destroy the eggs if they haven't already broken the surface, right? So if the baby birds are they call it pipping, right? If the eggs are starting to hatch, you can't take them, right? So we got a permit. We do this via permit. There's a training course we go through to understand what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do. And then we get out there and we just start taking care of some of the geese eggs, right? So it's really good for population control of the geese. Geese themselves, we used to be able to do the goose roundup. We can't do that anymore. So this is the primary method in which we're controlling geese population on the lake. We have here on the far end is where the majority of them are, down on Benstein. We get a bunch down there, some back in the canal, some up on the island. 2023, we got 81 eggs, and 2024, we got 46 eggs. So able to get out there. It's basically a two-session thing. So we went out on April 21st and then follow up on May 5th. That's what the permit's good for. And we go out and try and get after some of the geese to control some of the population.
Ryan, if I can jump
Yep.
in for just a second, since
Yep.
we're talking about the goose nest and egg destruction program. I had provided some information over the last couple of months to council about what we were hearing about a shift in the position of the DNR relative to controlling geese, nuisance geese, and the change in the DNR's position has become official within the last couple of weeks. I know I saw one story on one of the local news stations last week that was kind of a follow-up on the issues that they had out at Lake Sherwood with the euthanasia, with actually putting geese down after geese were pulled up there. Historically, the DNR has encouraged the nest and egg destruction program. If you participated in the nest and egg destruction program earlier in the year, then you were eligible to apply for the goose roundup permit, which we did every year here for a number of years. Then COVID hit, and then between COVID and an outbreak of the bird flu, the DNR put the brakes on the goose roundup program because they didn't want groups gathering up geese in one area and potentially transporting geese that were infested with the bird flu to another area, thereby potentially spreading the bird flu. So for the last couple of years, as Ryan has indicated, we've been limited to the nest and egg destruction program. Well, for whatever reason, the DNR has changed their position now. They are still going to be encouraging the nest and egg destruction program again next year, but as an alternative, or in addition to, not as an alternative, in addition to, instead of the goose roundup program, the DNR has indicated that in certain situations, primarily ones involving public health and other things, they will be issuing permits that will allow geese to be rounded up and then either killed or euthanized, and then any meat that can be salvaged will be donated to food banks and things like that. It's still early on in the process. The DNR is trying to work out all the details. There will be some specific requirements that you're going to have to be able to meet to participate in the program. The companies that come in and then gather the geese up to be euthanized will all be licensed through the U.S. Department of Agriculture. So it's not just anyone that's going to be able to do this. You will have to use one of the companies that's been authorized by the government to engage in the Roundup program. They haven't determined what the cost would be, but from what I've been reading so far, the cost is going to be substantial to do it, at least at the start, because they're going to allow this type of a program, but they're not really encouraging it at this point in time. So that's just to give everybody a heads up. Really, it's going to be probably a couple-step discussion that we'll have to have is, number one, if the village would even be eligible under whatever criteria or guidelines the state ends up setting out to apply for and obtain the permit through the USDA. But then number two is the other question as to whether or not the village actually wants to engage in a euthanasia program too. So
Would that be for 100% of what's rounded up?
No, it's a percentile. And the other thing is that it's based off of a actual head count. Like, you have to do several surveys to show growth of the herd, if you will, or the flock, year over year, to actually get approved even for the preliminary stage of it.
It's a great segue to my next slide.
So anyway, as I get more information, I will keep council advised, but I mean, at the very least next year, I think we should plan on continuing to participate in the nest and egg destruction program, and we'll see where else we go, if anywhere. So, thanks for letting me butt in there, Ryan.
Yeah, no problem. This is a great, like, I did this in 2023. This is like an adventure. If anybody wants to volunteer to go do this, it is something else. The geese in the canal are built different. They're the angry ones. Okay. All right, so let's segue. Perfect. This is a fowl count, right? So every year we do this as well. Now this is like not particularly scientific, but it's the best we can do with what we have, which is we drive around the lake, given right around the same time, which is mid-July, and we count the birds, right? So relevant to this conversation, this is the geese population, right? So we did have a spike here, I would say, in geese population. That's basically the same year where we had no egg destruction, right? Which is not too surprising. And then as we've been executing the egg destruction program, we're basically hovering based on this date, on this type of survey of driving boats around and counting geese. We're around 66 geese, which is, I would say, pretty much where we've been over the past couple of years, outside of one dip and one spike. I think the spike is pretty well correlated to the fact that we weren't able to do the egg destruction program. So I think
Or the Roundup.
Huh?
Or the Roundup.
Oh, the Roundup.
Because the Roundup usually took place mid-June, so, I mean, your counts took place after they were already rounded up and taken
So,
off
I
the
mean,
lake.
this is probably a good destruction Roundup year, but we do have data where we can look at this if we want to change what we're doing, or if we determine it's a problem. But I think we get another data point next year, and if we're back down in this kind of 66, 67 region, that's, I think, probably what we can manage from a steady state perspective. The rest of the birds, we look at swans and heron. There's a bunch of ducks out there. I think it's really hard to count 235 of anything, but it's historically just a lot more. But my main thing here is to kind of focus on the geese. They're more of the nuisance birds. So that's what it looks like. I think it's past couple years, it's been pretty stable with what we're doing. So we'll get another data point next year and throw it on the chart and see what it looks like.
I'm surprised the swans are coming down that much.
Yeah. It's always time of year, because I swear, I mean, here, that day we counted 7 swans, but I've definitely seen 20 of them at one time before, right? So I think, we try and do it around the same time of year all the time to keep it as consistent as we can, but at the end of the day, you're driving a boat around counting birds. Okay, so that's the fowl count that we do every year. All right, the boat count. So this is another thing I kind of wanted to get better resolution of this data, but I'll explain that in a second. So there's 3 lines shown here. The overwhelming growing population of boats on the lake are pontoon boats. This is historical from 97 to 2024. So this is what the plot looks like. The top green line is pontoon boats. The blue line is lumped as all power boats. So this is anything that's got anything that's not a pontoon boat and is not like a jet ski, right? So all your wakeboard boats, all your ski boats, your IOs, your deck boats, all of that is lumped into that number. We did 1 year. Last year when I did it, I was splitting out wakeboard boats and ski boats, which I'd like to do moving forward and just keep an eye on that. But the overall trend of non-pontoon boats has been going down for years, right? So despite the fact that we have more different types of boats out there and stuff like this, I mean, it's just a lot more pontoon boats and a lot less of everything else. And this is the personal watercrafts over years. Jet skis have dropped quite significantly. There's also tons of other things we count up, paddle boards and things like this that are just for awareness, but these are the main ones that I think are of any indication of what's going on the lake. We haven't really done anything with the data. It's not like we're limiting the number of boats somebody can have at their house necessarily, but it's just to keep an eye on the trend. So there's the trend. Everything but pontoon boats is going down year over year. This next one is the harvester operation, which is kind of one that I find pretty interesting. I've got 3 plots up here. So basically what I started doing was we take the reports from the operator, right after every time the operator comes in, he's talking about how many hours he was out there total, how many hours were on maintenance, how many loads they took in, right? So I got 3 plots plotted on top of each other here that are worth looking at. So on the left-hand side, I've got, this is 2024, 2023, 2022, and 2021, all stacked on top of each other. So the red line, I'm actually going to duplicate this so I can actually see it. Sorry, it's so small. The red line is 2021, right, where this top left-hand plot is how many hours was the harvester out on the lake. Okay, 2021, we had a bunch of maintenance issues. We had the fuel line problem. We had a pile of issues where we could not get that thing going. We had trouble getting operators. So that's the red line outlier, okay? 2024, so this is where we are this year, right? So we had the highest usage of the harvester as we've had over the last 4 years this year, which is great for us, right? We've been encouraging and trying to get as much usage as possible. This is obviously complementary to what we do with the lake treatments. So the top left is the hours. The top right is how many loads of weeds are they pulling out, right? So this year we pulled out the highest number of loads of weeds out of the lake. Now, again, this is not scientific. They're saying, it's 2. Okay, it's not by weight, right? But we pulled the most amount of weeds out of the lake by 40% compared to the previous 2 years. And now one of the things that we always talk about at the water board is like, is this like mowing your lawn every day, right? If you keep mowing, you keep sending the thing out there over and over and over and over again, it's going to become less efficient, right? You can't mow your lawn every day. So that's this bottom plot. So this bottom plot is how many hours the thing is operated and how long it has taken to pull one load out of the lake. Okay, so the bottom plot is showing that we're pulling out, it's less than 2 hours per load this calendar year. Okay, and towards the end of the year, you can see these all generally trend up outside of the red line. The red line is the outlier of 2021. But towards the end of the year, as the growth goes down, it takes longer and longer for the thing to drive for you to get the same number of loads pulled out. So the theory of like, hey, if we run this thing more, it's like mowing your lawn, you're not going to be getting stuff. The data doesn't show that, right? This calendar year, we use the harvester more than ever. We pulled out more out of the lake ever, and we're pulling it out at a rate that is better than it's been. So our harvester operation this year, in my mind, has been exceptional for what we've had in the past. So anything in my mind here, if you look at the previous 2 years, it would take like 2.5 hours to get a full load out of the lake, and this year it was sub 2 hours. So I don't think that we're at the limit of saying we're running the harvester too much. Like when I look at that, I say there's more to be had. Obviously, it's dependent on the conditions of the lake, but I certainly wouldn't encourage us to think that we're not getting bang for the buck when we run the harvester. Okay. Next thing is this interactive map that we did last year. Again, this is available to everybody. We use it on the water board. We had paid Progressive for this, so it's something that they provided. I encourage the rest of the boards and anybody else that's interested. This is available on the village website. We can add to it. We have budget to add to it. But it's something that we use to understand the key areas of the lake. It's available to all the residents. It has things like the depth and all the GPS points that they do the surveys on, the inlets and the outlets of the lake. You can get the property lines on there. It's got all the areas where people are allowed to fish. So one of the things we want to do is, like, instead of saying, sorry, no fishing off the bridge, like, let's give them a QR code that shows them where they're allowed to fish, right? So we do have this tool at our disposal now. It got wrapped up. I would say the first couple months of this summer, it finished. We have it on the website. That link is available to everybody. And we can use it for all the stuff now. Anybody that wants to add, like, hey, here's all the parks in the village, or whatever, we can add content here and then point people to it. And all the layers are selectable. You can turn things on and off and stuff like this. So I think there's work we can do to continue to improve this thing over time. I've used it quite a bit when we're talking about, like, if residents have issues with the lake in a certain area, I can point them to this. I say, tell me what number, right? And then they boom, boom, they can tell you what the number. We can guide the harvester to go there, have the survey go look at that specific area. So it's useful for things like that, and I think there's probably greater use that we can use in the village, and we can add to it. So the baseline's there. It's useful. So that came out this year, too. So that's it. That's the last thing I had. Got a pile of stuff going on. But that's what we did in 2024.
Great presentation.
Any questions?
I just have a maybe question/comment. I don't think that the water board is responsible as to where, you can anchor and swim. But I've always wondered why in that very narrow area of the Penny Lake area where there's no wake zone, it's so narrow there, and so many boats collect there, there are times when I'm pretty sure that there are people that live there that can't even get their boats out. And to me, that doesn't seem safe. Whether it's for them or other people going from the main part of the lake into the Penny Lake area, when kids are jumping off the boats, and it's, I'd say it's right there. Can that be moved a little bit, or so they can't park there?
I mean, the no-wake zones are the areas where you're allowed to anchor, right? I mean, it's one of the few areas that you are allowed to anchor, and that's not near shore. I mean, I'll defer to the chief over here, but the no-wake areas are where you're supposed to anchor, and then near shore, right? 100 feet from shore is where you're supposed to be anchoring. That's just the standard DNR rules. Whether that, I mean, I don't think we could say that that is not going to be a no-wake zone because it's so narrow. Plus, I don't think we could change much of anything with the grandfather laws we have on the lake, but I guess I'll defer to the man himself.
It hasn't been reported to us as a problem.
Yeah.
I know when we travel the lakes there, I think that is a big area, big fun recreation party area.
Yeah.
Within reason, it's very safe, but we haven't had any complaints saying it's too narrow through there, so.
Yeah. All right.
It's something for us to take a look at in the summer, to be aware.
It's more of a concern. I haven't really either. I've only heard one complaint. That could have been an unusually hot day and everybody was, more than normal, but.
Sure.
Like I said, because I also have seen people, not necessarily when there's a lot of boats there, but I've seen boats go through there quite fast.
That shouldn't happen because it is a no-wake zone.
And I don't know, I mean, I know the police officer can't be out there 24/7, but it's that part, and I've heard residents yelling at the boat owner going through there to slow down, so, but anyway, I just,
Any other questions? Go for it.
Yeah. Unrelated, Ryan, we talked a little bit just before the meeting started tonight.
Yeah.
For a number of years, the village has used to be Progressive AE, now it's Progressive Companies as a consultant, and they offer recommendations on lake management, including the weed control and things like that. Our contract with them is up the end of the year. The proposal that I received from Paul Hausler, the principal, came in after your last Water Management Board meeting. So we weren't able to stick that on your agenda to get the Water Management Board to take a look at the proposal and then potentially offer a recommendation to council as to whether or not council should consider entering into another 2-year agreement with Progressive. Recognize that you can't speak for the Water Board, but as the chair of the Water Board, you see any reason why the village shouldn't consider
No, I think the last,
keeping them on board?
at least from my experience being on the board for, I don't know how many years now, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years. I mean, our complaints over the last 2 years from the village have been as low as they've ever been right now, right? So I'm comfortable with the advice they give us, how they guide the harvester, the balance that we strike with them. I think they've helped us with the website and a bunch of stuff. So, I mean, I would support having them on board and keeping them on board. I think we have a great relationship, and I feel like we've seen some improvements. I can tell you from the number of people that have come in and complained to the water board, last 2 years, it's been significantly low. I think we've had like literally one person in 2 years. So I would encourage us to stay with them.
And I would just add that they've always been very responsive.
Yeah.
When I've reached out to them with questions, or if we've referred residents with complaints to them, they're really good about getting back to us, so.
They've been with us for quite a few years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, appreciate your input on that, Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Great
cool.
presentation.
Thank you, everybody.
Awesome presentation.
Have a good one. Okay, next up is recommendations from updates from engineer Mr. Powell.
That was a very impressive presentation.
Yes, it was.
I was very
Yep.
impressed. All right, the first item is the update of the 2024-25 paving project. As you know, all the paving's done. There's only one area that we've received some complaints about, no, observations about. It really hasn't even been a complaint. There's a small puddle at the end of McIntosh Court, right up at the far end of it, that ends up being about a 5-foot diameter circle that dries up after a day of water. In the way that we write the projects, we hold the contractor responsible for those areas of standing water. So they provide their own, I guess I can throw in a little commentary here. In the state of Michigan, people complain about the roads, and MDOT says, that's the Michigan Department of Transportation, says, let's hold the contractor responsible for their work. The problem is MDOT designs how the roads are going to be built. They design the mixture, they design the thicknesses, they design all the slopes, and then they make the contractor stick to what the MDOT designed, and it's unfair to hold the contractor responsible for something they didn't have any part in, except they followed the plans. Here in the village, we do things a little bit differently to save on engineering costs and stakeout costs. We actually hold the contractor responsible for except for the thickness of the asphalt, we hold them responsible for putting the road back to not have any ponding water. And now, myself and our team are there just to make sure that we're not noticing anything that slips by them, because it's always better to catch it than come back and fix it. But Hutch did an incredible job this year making sure that the roads drain really well. And so this is an outlier of a spot right at the end of that cul-de-sac. I met with the contractor out there. They have Friday morning, they're going to saw cut, take that back, they probably already saw cut that area of the asphalt, and it's right at a driveway. I've met with the homeowner of the driveway. She says no problem modifying the driveway. It's in the road right of way. Their driveway just comes up high at the end of the road. We're going to drop her driveway down so the road water flows in the ditch line where it belongs. So their driveway was just a little high and didn't allow the water to leave the roadway. So the village is going to remove the asphalt and lower the grade. Then Hutch is going to come in and repave their driveway to allow the water to flow off the road into the ditch line where the water belongs. And so that was going to be done this Thursday, but the coordination between either Jeff Miller or the DPW, this is the prime time for the leaf pickup, and so the DPW is a little busy, and so bottom line, it's going to be done next week, that being said. So, that being said, I have a request for pavement to Hutch Paving. I had withheld 5% of the total contract until we saw how the road was going to be finished, and and how they were going to deal with any repairs that needed to be taken place. So going through the winter, however, I just don't believe it's fair to hold 5% of a contractor's money all the way through the winter. So I'm suggesting we reduce that to a 2% and then revisit all the roads next March. And certainly Hutch knows they're responsible to do any repairs. But my suggestion is to hold a balance of $4,000, $4,700 instead of $11,000, and to forward a payment to Hutch of $7,129.37 to allow them to go through the winter without us holding so much money.
Motion to approve a payment to Hutch Paving in the amount of $7,129.37.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Up,
Yes.
Wozniacki,
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
All right, number 2, the 2024 crack sealing program. As council knows, for many, many years, we have a budget item for crack sealing. The concept here is to wait until as late in the fall as we can. Those of you who don't know physics, the asphalt is taking up the least room it can, and the cracks are as widest in the fall as the temperature in that asphalt lowers. So therefore, in November, we typically we bid this out, but A&R seal coating has always been virtually half of our next lowest bidder for the crack sealing program here in the village. They have finished their work, and they do, it's hard to point out anything that they do wrong. In this particular case, the leaf pickup was a little bit delayed. It's a weird year, and so the piles of leaves, there were some piles of leaves along the side of the road. We obviously had a conflict when they were doing their crack sealing in just some key areas. I don't believe it's going to make a major deal. I'm going to go back and look at them once all the leaves are picked up, and A&R would be willing to come back out if I notice a big problem. But they have completed their work, and next month I'll have a pay request before you.
Great.
The next item is the Claire Miller Park Sports Courts. This is a request from Goddard Sports to be paid for their coloring and striping. I take that back, of the doing some skim patching, and then coloring and line work for all of the sports courts. And also H.G. Sarter, the village paid them for all the courts except for the tennis courts. They had some work to do on the tennis courts, and they had to go back in and virtually redo their work. They lowered the mounds. They had it a little too high, and so they went back in and removed some of the asphalt and did some patchwork. The Goddard coating and the H.G. Sarter, while I was out of town last month, council pointed out that there were some cracks developing in the sports courts. So the administrator, Gilman, and I met out there with the two contractors and walked all the courts. We identified that in the area, if you recall, the original cracks were half-inch to almost 2 inches wide in key areas. In those areas where they were cut out, a patch of 4 foot wide, we ended up with a hairline crack where the new asphalt joined the old asphalt. We always knew this was going to happen. Whenever you have two different types of asphalt, you've now eliminated the big crack, but you've got two other planes of weakness that the cracks are going to develop. So we were out there on a cold morning, and there were hairline cracks, and what made them really noticeable, of course, is we got this beautiful gray surface on the courts. And what made it even worse, it was early in the morning, so the sun was down low, and it casted a shadow on each one of those cracks. The real expert at this is Goddard Coating. They're the ones that do most of the courts for the schools and the recreation facilities in Oakland County and southern Michigan here. They said that is absolutely normal. It didn't surprise them at all that that was going to happen. None of us believe that those cracks are going to widen. The way the big cracks were replaced, not only was all the asphalt moved in a 4-foot area, but we put it in 3 lifts so that the very top surface has a hairline crack in it. And if you go to the areas where there isn't any paint, just to the east, just to the backside of the hockey arena there's an area that no paint was done, and you can just barely see the black line, a little crack in that area there. So that's the same crack that's developed in the painted area. None of us believe those cracks are going to be made larger next spring. We don't believe there's going to be any water migration into those cracks, which would develop a faster degradation. We all believe that we will meet out there again next spring to evaluate those again and come back with a report and a recommendation to council. Either they stay the same or we have an issue that needs to be addressed. Goddard Coating made it very clear that even fixing the little hairline cracks, there'll be half a year of oxidation on the surfacing. So the same color, if they use the same color, the new patchwork would highlight all the cracks again. And so you'd end up with a spider web of a different color paint instead of this little crack running down in key areas. There's no translation, there's no vertical translation at all in these cracks, so there's no issue of playability. But that being said, I felt very comfortable in then recommending the payment to Goddard Sports for their work for $83,600. And I'll stop there, and then we'll talk about H.G. Sarter, because they're kind of 2 different payments.
I make a motion to pay Goddard Sports Services the amount of $83,600.
We'll second that.
Motion by Kazanecki, second by Duff. Any discussion? Yeah, it did turn out nice.
That's really good.
Roll call, please.
Kazanecki?
Yes.
Jeremini?
Yes.
McNutt?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Medrow?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
As a follow-up to that, I'm hoping that Administrator Gillum sent the pictures, the drone pictures that Goddard took that morning that we were out there. It is extremely impressive, our sports courts now. And so if you haven't seen those, ask David to send those pictures to you, because quite frankly, you might even want to put them on the website, because they're very impressive. So.
Yeah, I have not sent those, Mike, but I certainly can, yes.
Yeah. The item number 2 under 3, this is again just for H.G. Sarter. He hadn't completed the tennis courts at last month's meeting. He had finished all of the hockey arena, the basketball court, and the pickleball courts. It was interesting. We had agreed to allow them to bring a big radiant heater in. It's kind of looks almost like it looks like my brush hog on the back of my tractor, but it's a radiant heater, and it sits over top of the asphalt you want to change the elevation or shape on. And they heated all of those areas up. They scraped off the excess little mounding that ended up on a number of those areas, and then they re-rolled them all. And so it was very impressive, and I've used this kind of process many times in the past. We had them go over to the tennis courts to do the same thing, and the oven, quite frankly, was 8 feet wide, and the fence was not wide enough to be able to let them in. So they actually had to go in and actually re-mill the surface of the areas on the tennis courts, and then re-put new asphalt in order to make it flush with the asphalt that was left. So, and to their credit, H.G. Sarter did not charge us for any of that extra work. They understood that it was a playability issue, and they really enjoy the relationship they have with the village. So that being said, their work was completed on the tennis courts, and I'm recommending payment of $16,863 for their repair of the tennis court cracks.
I'll make a motion to pay AG Stouter an amount of $16,863.
Second that.
Motion by Newman, second by Duff. Any discussion on that one? Roll call, please.
Duff,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Jermaine,
Yes.
Kazaki,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
Pedro,
Yes.
O'Reilly.
Yes.
Now, I really thought that we'd never have to talk about this one again. And I had I'd made my recommendations, my final report to council at last month's meeting, and to put it this way, the contractor was not really happy with me. I had made recommendations substantially less than the invoices he had sent in, and I challenged him to take my recommendations and tell me where my recommendations were incorrect. He couldn't accept that. He did present to David and I, we met in person with Jamie Berman, the owner of AJ Excavating, and he made a very good case in developing that he was actually out there pumping water much more than the 3 weeks or the 3 months that I gave him. He thought he was out there pumping for 90 days. Our documentation by our inspector said that was not the case, but he made a very good case that he could not work all the time as the water was coming down to allow him to put his piping in. Bottom line is he has agreed to allow for a compromise on the length of time that the dewatering was being done. I did point out to him that it was a telling, I'll point out this way, Administrator Gillum asked him how long he thought that project should have taken if he was giving us a price, or giving us a time back when he bid the project. And he said, yeah, about 2-3 months. And we said, okay, well, 9 months later, here we are. And so to invoice the village because of his timing was inappropriate, but he did make a good case for stating that his dewatering aid, 2 pumps working, and so I modified my recommendation to allow for an additional dewatering extra of $3,750. The $2,000 for jogging around an AT&T vault that we found just as we approached Wolverine Drive, the jog in Wolverine Drive there, that invoice came in the same day as council meeting last month, so I hadn't had a chance to offer that to the village to consider at all, and so that's why it's in this recommendation now. That was they installed pipe right up to it. When they started their next section of pipe, they ran into this concrete structure. It was approximately a 6 by 8 foot tank buried, no lid on it, no indication at all that it was ever there. You can't hold a contractor responsible for something that none of us know about. So the village, I personally went out and picked up 2 45-degree angles so that he could jog around that structure and then continue our construction across Wolverine Drive. So that additional was the jogging of the pipe, that $2,000 bill. So I'm recommending Jamie Berman has agreed that he'd like to take what the village is offering here and call it a day. So he decided not to fight Administrator Gillums and my suggestion on this total. So the total I'm recommending is $5,750, and that will be the the end of that
Finalization of that
project.
project.
That's exactly correct.
I make a motion that we pay AJ Excavating $57.50 and 0 cents.
Here's a second. Second. Motion by Duff, second by Jeremy. Any discussion?
The only comment I would add is, that just so everyone is clear, Mr. Berman was asking for more money. He was asking for more than $15,000 when we sat down with him on Monday afternoon, so really we're paying a small percentage of what he was actually asking for. Mike and I talked about this. We think this is a reasonable amount. We think it's a fair resolution. Let's move on.
Mhm.
When was the project originally supposed to start? What time of
Supposed to
year?
start October 23.
Okay.
That's when he bid, and we wanted them to start in November 23. All the other contractors were going to start in November 23, and if you recall, I had mentioned it was a $40,000 lower bid, and I knew it was a two-man company. I'd had experience with them in the past. I knew it was going to take longer, but no one would have guessed that it was going to take 9 months.
Right, so we're going to start in November when the lake level's down.
Yes, that's correct.
And so what was the delay in them?
Well, wasn't there a delay in getting material to begin with, too?
That's what it was.
Yeah,
It was
that's what I
2 month
remember.
delay in getting
Yeah.
material.
Okay.
Yeah,
They didn't get material until around February, I think.
that's correct.
Yeah, that's what I remembered.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
it was the end of February.
That's correct.
Yep.
So the delay caused the need for dewatering. Basically.
It greatly
Yeah.
increased
So,
that, yeah, yeah.
So
I can't
And we did have a wet,
That's
very
more
wet
unfair.
summer.
I was going to say, I can't
Spring.
argue with the water. I mean, they
Yeah.
were
Oh,
up
yeah.
to their knees and hips in
Absolutely.
water, setting
A
that
lot of
pipe in
water.
there.
Yeah, it
Just
just,
timing of it all.
Yeah, but it
So
was the
this is
timing.
fair. I mean,
and it
this
was,
is more
it
than
was
fair.
just an outlier of a year
Yeah,
that way,
yeah.
too,
Yeah.
weather-wise, so.
Correct, but it's been done in the time it was supposed to be.
Should have been done way before,
Right.
yeah, agreed.
So-
But we're done now.
Yes. And it's working
finally, it's
beautifully.
in and it's done, so, yeah. Great. Okay, with that, roll call, please.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Ecknet?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
And finally,
The last item is just an update. I had been after the surveyor to get out there and do all the staking for a month now. And very good, capable surveyor. She had a number of issues. She drove a nail through her hand and various other things during that time. Bottom line is, and I apologize, I didn't get out there yesterday or today to verify, but she says it's done. The staking for the cycle area is done.
It's done.
Probably the biggest issue now is the contractor who has been, it's me being an old guy, I started with his dad, Mark Russo, has retired. And so he was going to come out with his equipment and do that whole track. He's still planning on doing that. He's hoping that his dozer operator and his payloader operator can come out and do that work this next week. And so if he tells me that his guys can't do it, then we'll have to look for a couple other dozer operators to come out and push that material around to build our track. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. We're just waiting for the dozer operator to tell us that he can still get out there. If not, there are other dozer operators that will do the work. So, but that's the update.
okay.
One quick question, Mike, about the ditches. The ditch across from where the enclosure was done that we've had a lot of issues with and how it's draining. I've driven by it a few times and seen some sitting water in there. And I'm just wondering how you're feeling about that area.
Can you be a little more specific? Because across
Where like
from...
Mr. Totemaker lives, that
Yeah.
that house and all that area.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
We had planned on, so everyone knows that you can't call it a storm sewer because Eagle will have a problem with that definition. It's a ditch enclosure project. We had that piping low enough to be able to allow it to extend after we go around that curve, extend, quite frankly, another 1,000 feet to the north to pick up everyone's ditch line all the way along there. So it's deep enough to be able to do that. Mr. Tenenbacher asked us to make it to where he could enclose that ditch line in front of his house there. All the time, I believe, and he represented himself before council, he was hoping that council would pay to have his ditch line enclosed. That was never in the cards. It was to take care of a drainage problem that we've had for 40 years here in the village in key areas in ditch lines. Once he decided not to enclose his ditch line there, I had a pipe down 4 feet, and it was a big hole in the ditch line. And if council remembers, last month, we paid Jeff Miller to raise that up about 2.5 feet so that it flows right on. It's a continuation of the ditch line into the storm sewer. If you stand out there for any period of time, you'll notice that about every minute, Mr. Tenenbacher's and his neighbors' sump pumps go off, and it just doesn't go off. It's like, almost like Andy's turning on a fire hose. So eventually, they're going to get tired of water sitting in their ditch line. It was up to Mr. Tenenbacher to grade his ditch so that it constantly flows down to where the village left an open pipe. So he is responsible to take care of his ditch line, as his neighbor is, as every resident in the village is responsible for their ditch line. He understands that he can enclose it anytime he wants. He had closed his portion on Penny Lake there. So at any time, he can enclose that ditch and eliminate all his water problem there as well.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Powell. Moving on to item 11, program year 2025 community block grant funding allocation. And so we're going to have a public hearing on that. So with that, I would accept the motion to open the public hearing.
Motion to open the public hearing for 2025 Community Development Block Grant.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Mr. Newman. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're now in the open hearing, so.
Just for everyone's benefit, we've received indication from Oakland County's Housing and Community Development staff that the village allocation of block grant funding, which comes through HUD for next year, should be the same as it has been for the last several years, which is a total of $7,000. So we've allocated that money in a variety of different ways in the past, but the allocation that seems to have worked best for us in the past has been to split the allocation between Haven, that is support for victims of domestic violence and assault, and then the other half to the county's single-family housing rehabilitation program. You'll recall that a couple years ago, we had allocated some of the money to the restroom renovations down here, and we ran into all kinds of problems in terms of getting all the documentation from the contractor that would be necessary to apply to the county for reimbursement. As a result of that, we had to have that money repurposed from the restroom project into the single-family housing rehab program. And then for the money from 2 years ago, we had split our allocation between Haven and LEA, Lakes Area Youth Assistance. But again, we ran into a similar problem in the sense that all the documentation that the county requires to process a reimbursement through the federal program is documentation that LEA simply doesn't keep. A lot of it's demographics, and they just don't keep that kind of information about the clientele that they serve. Other communities, I've learned, have had the same kind of problem. The city of Wixom had problems, and as a result, they no longer contribute block grant funding to LEA. Like we do, they still support LEA, they contribute to LEA, but you just don't use block grant funds to do it. So, again, we have a variety of options, but subject to anything that council hears during the public hearing tonight or any other thoughts, my recommendation will be that we, again, for next year, split our allocation between Haven and the single-family rehab program at the county.
So with that, anybody in the public want to comment? Seeing none. Motion to close public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing for 2025 Community Development Block Grant.
Motion by Duff.
Second.
Second by Newman. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. And with that, we'll move on to business item 1, which is the program year 2025 CDBG funding allocation. And I believe that Mr. Gillum was pretty clear on which way he suggests we go with it. And that was what we've done the last year here, so that makes sense to me. Anybody else has any comments?
Makes sense for that?
Yeah, motion to
Motion
move with the resolution
Yeah, motion to
provided.
accept the resolution as read.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
McDuff?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Kazaki?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
Okay, Parks and Rec recommendations. Request council release budget of funds for the Halloween decorating contest not to exceed $300.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman.
Just to clarify, this is actually the entire holiday decorating contest budget, so it includes Christmas and all that, too.
More than just Halloween.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, roll call, please.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Kazaki?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
McDuff?
Yes.
Item 2, request council release budget of funds for snacks with Santa in the amount of $1,200.
Make a motion to release funds for Christmas next time.
Second.
Motion by Newman, second by Duff this time. Discussion? Roll call.
Nedrow?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Duff?
Yes.
Kazaki?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
McDuff?
Yes.
O'Brien?
Yes.
Okay, next one's a little bit more complicated, so I want to recommend council to have MRC install 2 spinners that were previously purchased at Clara Miller Park Playground in the engineered wood fiber section, the amount of $4,600, and for installation of the swing set and bike rack previously purchased to be installed in the media park for amount of $10,100.
Do you need 2 or a single motion?
Probably have single motion.
A single motion would be fine because we're talking about using the same contractor for both, so. And just to kind of refresh everybody's memory on these 2 sets of playground equipment. First, if we take Amenia Park first, when I first became the administrator, which was be 4 years ago next week, these were park improvements that were in the works at that point in time. The village had obtained quotes for the swing set and the bike rack for Amenia Park, but the order hadn't actually been placed. COVID had played a big part in that. There were issues with supply side and things like that, and then the changeover in the administrator's office. So we finally did place the order for the Amenia Park playground equipment. Again, supply issues related to COVID. It took months and months and months for us to hear anything back from the playground equipment supplier. When I finally did hear back from them, they couldn't find the order we had placed anywhere, so we had to place the order again. That order did get processed. They gave us a long time frame for to provide the equipment. They eventually did provide the equipment. While we were waiting for the equipment to be delivered, I was after them a number of times to get them to give us a quote to actually have the playground equipment installed. They never provided me with a quote. We went ahead and we accepted delivery of the swing set and the bike rack. We've had those in storage back in the DPW for probably about 2 years now. And then as we worked our way through the grant process over at Clara Miller Park, I felt it would be best if we sought out Michigan Recreational Construction and see if they could put that equipment in for us over at Amenia Park. So as we were moving through the grant project at Clara Miller, I met with a representative of theirs, talked about the equipment. We went over to Amenia Park. They provided the quote of $10,100 to install the swing set and the bike rack that we currently have in storage in the DPW over at Amenia Park. So that's number 1. Number 2, in terms of the 2 spinners, you'll recall that when we had originally put the plans together for the grant project at Clara Miller Park, the 2 spinners were included, in addition to the 2 age-specific play structures that are in place over now, and I would add look spectacular and are already getting a lot of use. But then when we ran into issues with being over budget, we decided that we would back those 2 spinners out of the proposal, revised proposal we were going to submit to the state to try to get our numbers down a little bit. That's what we did in terms of what we submitted to the state. But at the same time, we were advised that about a year ago that prices were going to go up about 5% from 23 to 24. So to go ahead and lock in the 2023 prices on the 2 spinners, we went ahead and purchased those directly from the Playground Equipment Company. We went outside of the grant process. We then took delivery on those. Those have also been in storage back out in the DPW for most of this year. Once the grant project is fully wrapped up and has been inspected by the state and has been approved, then what we would like to do is to take those 2 spinners that were going to be part of the project originally and have those installed by MRC. They'd be installed in the area where there's the engineered wood fiber, which is where we had originally planned for them to go all along. But again, because of budget issues, they haven't been in place yet. And the thinking behind waiting until after all the state inspections are done, in talking with Kevin McDonald, with our prime professional over there, our concern was that when the state came out to look at the finished project, if they saw play equipment there that was not in the actual project as approved by the state, that it might raise more questions. Even though it had been in what we had originally submitted, it wasn't in the final version of the plans were submitted. So he and I felt that it would be best to wait until we get the final state sign off, and at that point in time, go ahead and have the 2 spinners installed. So that's what we're talking about doing. Again, while we were out at the park with MRC, I asked them to also give me a quote on installing the 2 spinners, and that's the 4,600. So again, my recommendation is that we accept the proposal from MRC for the 4,600 for the 2 spinners, for the 10,100 for the Amenia Park play equipment and bike rack, with the understanding that the spinners wouldn't be installed over at Clara Miller until after the state has signed off, given final approval on the grant project.
Just a question, do we have an idea when that might be, when the state's going to finalize it?
We're going through and tying up the last loose ends with the state right now. According to Jason, I think I might have said Jason McDonald, according to Jason, one of the things that we have to actually put a sign up there that acknowledges the state's participation in the project and things like that. He's working through the punch list items with our grant coordinator, with Mary, and then once that's done, then we'll be ready to turn the MRC loose. So.
Okay, thank you. With that,
I make a motion to schedule MRC to install the 2 spinners, the swing set, and the bike ride for a grand total of $14,700.
Second that.
okay, motion by Newman, second by Duff. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Newman.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Kazanecki.
Yes.
Jeremini.
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes. And finally from that, Beautification Committee recommends council release budget of funds for early spring planning in the amount of $700.
Motion.
Motion by Duff,
Second.
second by Newman. Any discussion on that? I think this is just for bulbs and probably mulch and stuff like that for next spring. With that, roll call vote.
Kazanecki.
Yes.
Jeremini.
Yes.
McNutt.
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
Nedrow.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Duff.
Yes.
Alrighty. Item D, DPW Labor Worcester's resignation. So Doug's been with us for 28 and a half years, long time. And he's done a nice job over the years, I guess. So I guess he He had put his resolution, or resignation notice in, effective January 1st of next year, so this is just to accept his resignation and thank him for his service for the years.
Make a motion that we accept Doug Wooster's resignation.
Motion by Duff,
Second.
second by Newman. Any discussion? With that, do a roll call, I guess.
Jeremy,
Yes.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes,
Newman,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Kazaki.
Yes.
and I guess that will be effective January 1?
Well, December 31st will be his
December
last day.
31st will be the last day, okay.
Yep, and just so everyone is aware, we do have the position advertised right now. It's posted on the village website. We've got word out on social media. We've already received a couple applications for the position, and the deadline for application for anybody who's interested is 2 weeks from today, Wednesday, the 27th, at the close of business. And then we would hope to have, when I say we, Andy Stone and I are hoping to conduct interviews the first part of December, and then even potentially come to council at our next regular meeting in December with a recommendation to fill Doug's spot. I'd like to get that filled as quickly as we can. Mild weather, but I'd hate to be caught shorthanded if we get hit with a big snowstorm.
Yeah.
Late December or early January. So
Agreed.
we're going to try to keep that process moving along.
Good. Okay. Next item is Uniform Video Service Local Franchise Agreement Renewal with Comcast. So this is going to be for a proposed agreement which would last for 10 years, right?
Correct.
And so we get 5% revenues back from Comcast on their local franchising, so.
And the form of the agreement itself is a standard that's established by state law. So there are just a couple blanks that needed to be filled in. One of those being the 5% of gross revenues, which as my memo indicates, which is the maximum we're allowed to collect.
Won't have to screw with this for 10 years, I guess, huh?
Unless the law changes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that,
Motion to accept the agreement agreement renewal from Comcast as presented.
motion by Duff,
Second.
second by Newman. Any discussion? Roll call.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Kazaki.
Yes.
Next up's our 2025 membership renewal for Michigan Municipal League. And this is going to be a one-year renewal,
Correct.
the amount of $275. Well, actually,
No, it's-
that's the additional payment, sorry.
Yeah, it's
Remain a
2,000
member of the league's defense fund. So,
Right,
it's-
yeah.
yeah, $2,754, I'm sorry.
plus 275. The total is 3,029
$3,029.
Yep,
for both.
Yep,
Yes.
exactly. And we've been with the MML for quite a few years also. As long as I can remember. So we have a motion to,
Motion to approve payment to the MML in the amount of $3,029.
thank you, Bill.
Second.
Motion by Brian, second by Newman. Any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
McNutt,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Duff, Kazaki.
Yes.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Item G, authorization for purchase of an installation of a furnace and air conditioner for Village Hall, amount not to exceed $8,758. And this was something that we had to get done.
I'd have to confess, this work has already been done, but it needed to get done, so.
Yes.
And it was a 23-year-old furnace, so,
So I guess we better approve it then.
and the AC was pretty aging too, so it'd probably be a lot more efficient.
Make him sweat.
It's
I'll make a motion to authorize the purchase and installation for an AC unit for not to exceed $8,758.
Motion by Newman, second by Duff. Any discussion on that one?
Nope.
Nope. Roll call, please.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Nedrow,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Duff,
Yes.
Kazaki?
Yes.
Jeremy?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Item H, second reading and adoption of ordinance 106A-125, which was, we introduced last month, and setback from property line changes for, I believe that was dealing with signs.
Actually, no,
No, it wasn't.
it just generally deals with
Property
setbacks
setbacks.
in single-family residential districts. There were other ordinances that dealt with signs.
That was signs, we went through all those already, but we're gonna reduce that one too. So any case,
Make a motion to approve and adopt ordinance number 106A-125 after second reading.
Second that.
motion by Newman, second by Duff. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Now we deal with the one with the signs. So this is a reintroduction and first reading of ordinance 106A-124, which dealt with the sign ordinance.
Motion to reintroduce in the first reading of ordinance 106A-124.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman. Any discussion on this? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries on that. And we are at the second call of the public. Mr. Laybourne.
Make a motion to open.
Aye, motion to open.
Tonight was when you
Second.
folks put in new council on board. That's how we used to do it, didn't we?
Yeah, we had a charter amendment change back in 2018. So
That was just, I haven't been here.
that
Okay,
was,
I'm sorry.
I didn't recall it was that way either, Dave, but I
Well,
was reminded the couple weeks ago from.
Dave Labor, 2335 Shaken. Real quick, last month I was here. For the first time, I was able to hear this person in this room when I sat over there. And that was Mike's girl. And every time she would talk, you can tell she's a pro, because she would move her head right next to the mic, and I could hear every one of them. Once in a while, I can hear David when he goes forward, but the rest of you are enjoying that chair way back there, and you can't hear you. And obviously, this thing being up, it's a combination of things. All I'm saying is, can you check the volume to see if that and this thing is working properly? If not, I'll go check my ears to see if I can hear them. But right now, I'm hearing everything because I do all the honeydews list at home. So, the next one, Jennifer, I wanted to acknowledge you because I love your enthusiasm from that class you took. Because I'm not sure how many of these people have gone through classes with Michigan Municipal League or other organizations, but that's a volume of information, and your enthusiasm, excitement of getting something that you could contribute to the village. I commend you for that, because I really enjoyed when I went to these things. 2 years from now, we're going to have an election. And I was thinking, maybe we should prepare this year to have anybody who runs for election to come here and introduce themselves to the village. We have the cameras, we have the video. That way people know who you are. People don't know who you guys are. I've asked people, and they really don't. And the participation is just going down. And I would think of all those months you're advertising for people to be on the boards, that would be a good way to get some board members on board. You got to think out of the box in order to get people here. And it will give you a little bit more competition. It will give you more diversity. I like to see more women on the board because we got too many men on the board. Because when I had 50-50 or 3 and 4 type of deal, we really had a more easier and clear ways of solving problems. But when you got a bunch of guys, hey, it ain't working. Excuse me, doesn't work. So I was thinking we could do the broadcast, then we could email everybody to tell them we're going to do a broadcast of all the candidates in the village hall. If you want to come over here and look at them, you can look at them, or else you can stay in your house and see it on TV. Just some ideas. I know I've been accused of having ideas way out, but you got to do something other than doing the same old thing, and you get the same results, nothing. So, next month, I won't be here. I'll let you enjoy your Christmas, so I'm wishing you a Merry Christmas. But January, I start my 50th year in this village. And what we'll do is I'll bring you a presentation that I started in the village of trying to ask the employees that leave us for an exit interview, because I believe in finding out why our employees leaving. And I found some very interesting that I'm going to share with you folks. And again, if you want to build a team and work together, you've got to educate them. You've got to help them along. So with that, Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next year.
Thank you, Mr. Lieberman.
Good luck.
Okay, anybody else second call? Seeing none? Anybody want to have a work session on the 27th? Motion to forego by Duff.
Second.
I think I heard that. Motion by second by Newman. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. We have any pending business?
We do not, thank you.
Perfect. Update from Police Chief Sovic.
Okay. Congratulations to those that were re-elected as council members, and looking forward to serving with you, and congratulations to our new members coming on. Looking forward to working with her. No Shave November, we are currently participating. As you can see, I didn't look like this in October, and I certainly won't look like this in December. My wife has anything to say with it. The No Shave November, it's a donation program, allows our officers to grow facial hair, even though they're still allowed to. Goes to a cause called Wigs for Kids. Raises money to get these really, really expensive, nice, very real-looking wigs for young kids that are afflicted with illnesses or diseases that have lost their hair, and so it really makes a difference in a child's young life and really boosts their self-esteem. And so, great cause. We're going to continue to do it year after year. If you guys are going on vacation, just remember to get your property checks in. We do that just about almost daily. We don't just drive by your house, we actually get out, we check your windows, we look inside the doors just to kind of see what's going on, see if anything's new. If something's new or changing, then we will actually contact you just to let you know, hey, if something's going on, if there's a box in there. So we do a really thorough job of property checks. It's one of the things that really sets us aside as a law enforcement here in our community. Upstairs, you might notice the coats for kids in the lobby. We're partnering with the Oakland County Sheriff's Department. If you have an old jacket or a used, or if you want to go out and buy a used one or a new one, please bring it in. That's going to go toward a good cause for Coats for Kids. You can bring up to the lobby. There's a couple of bins upstairs and drop them off there. Our new vehicle, our 5701, the Charger, should be outfitted and ready to be picked up sometime early next week, so we're looking forward to getting that back in service, going from 3 cars back to 4 cars. As far as the locker room construction, the bids, we have received 2 formal quotes to have the job performed. We're waiting on a 3rd, and I'm having a 4th company come in on Monday morning to take a look and see what we can do as far as separating those locker rooms. The co-responder interviews began today. We talked about the co-responder for the mental health issues and the substance abuse issues among the 4 agencies: Wolverine Lake, Walled Lake, Wixom, and White Lake. Those interviews started today. We're hoping to get that sometime going after the first of the year, but the interview started today, so we're looking forward to bringing someone on board. We've decided on an IT company. I will be bringing that to you in December for approval. And finally, I want you to introduce you to the newest member of the Wolverine Lake Police Department, volunteer police chaplain Ron Moore. I've known Ron for about 34 years. We served together in law enforcement in various positions. He was a retired chief of police from the Wixom Police Department, retired 2 years ago after a 27-year career there. He is currently serving as the police chaplain for the Walled Lake Police Department, and he's currently on staff as a counseling pastor at the Lakes Bible Church in Walled Lake. He has a son that is a police officer in Monroe County as well. Rom's very familiar from the experience dealing with sudden loss and tragedies and the aftermath of each, and sometimes those things can negatively affect our officers from seeing those certain types of incidents and things. So Ron is going to be another source. We've been talking for the last couple of months. Another source for our officers, whether it's going to be they're going through something personally or something as a result of something they saw here on duty. He has volunteered this time. If you guys recall, we had an incident with a 15-year-old committed suicide early in June, and at the time the mother was asking for some type of counsel, and 11:30 got on the phone, "Hey Ron, this is what's going on, can you give us a hand?" Text me the name, text me the address. Yeah, on his way. So Ron stayed with her for about 3 hours and just kind of offered some kind of just temporary comfort to her. And so, like I said, we're excited about having Ron on here, and just another source for us, and he's just a great addition. He's a man of God, been a friend of him for years, and so we're looking forward to bringing him on just as another resource for our agency.
That's great.
Ron Moore.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. That's all I have for you this evening.
Thank you, Chief. Update from Treasurer Hanson.
Next week, Rena, our auditor, will be in, and we'll start the audit progress, and I'm looking forward to getting that done and turned in as quickly as possible. We just finished all of our OPEB requirements last week, and so we're all doing, that's all related to all of our retirement things. I think that's pretty much it for the Treasurer's Department. I'd like to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and welcome, Ron, and thank you. That's a huge service, so thank you. It's great to have you. And I think that's it for me.
Good deal. Mr. Gillum, update.
First, congratulations to everyone at the table who was reelected, to Mark and Mike and Aaron. Congratulations. Look forward to working with you for a couple more years. And then to our newest council person out there, council-elect in the audience, look forward to working with you as well. I will see you tomorrow morning. So, and just generally, I would say congratulations to the residents in the village too, because as I understand, based upon what the county has told me, we had over 70% voter turnout for the village at the two precincts.
Does that include the people that voted at the library and mailed in? Or is that just who came into the...
That's everyone.
Turnout.
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything, yeah.
Yep, early voting, absentee voting,
Okay.
day of voting at the precincts.
Good.
That's great, and I commend everybody for taking an interest in what's going on here in the village and everywhere else too. So, I think everyone knows we're right in the middle of the annual leaf pickup program. We're
Deep into it.
Yep, yeah, business is picking up, as they say.
Use the word pick up loosely.
Yeah. Andy Stone and I just kind of joke every day. We just say that we're going to keep plugging away. We're roughly about halfway through the process. We're almost through the first round of pickup, and weather permitting and equipment permitting, we're just going to go ahead and keep moving through with the second round as well. We'd like to have that done before the Thanksgiving holiday, because the last day, hopefully well before the Thanksgiving holiday, because the last day for curbside pickup by priority is going to be Monday, November 25th.
That's for bag leaves, or, right?
For yard waste pickup, for bag leaves, yeah. So the idea would be we'll have the leaf pickup program done before that, so everyone can get the last remnants from the tank plow picked up and then out to the curb on Monday the 25th.
Damn, they're gonna have all the leaves off the trees before on the first round, so
Yeah.
the second round will go pretty quick, probably.
Let's hope it goes quickly. I think everyone is probably aware we've, again, had problems with equipment with priority. We've lost a couple days, but we're trying to stay on them, and hopefully we'll be able to plug through and get the rest of the project, the cleanup done. So, but we appreciate everybody's patience, and again, we're trying to get it done as quickly and as efficiently as we can. So, as Brian mentioned earlier, next, the new council will be sworn in at our next meeting on December 11th, and for those of you at the table now, I left, you'll see this sheet, which is just highlighted. This is an updated list of our current council committee assignments. That's going to be one of the things that we're going to need to tackle at the meeting in December, after we get the new council sworn in and everybody figures out where they're going to sit up here. Then we're going to have to start making some decisions. We'll have to start with who the new council president is going to be. We'll have to pick a council president pro tem after that. The names that are highlighted on here, I mean, obviously, all these assignments can change. But the ones that I've highlighted on here are the ones that you need to take a look at first, because these are the assignments that either Brian has had or that Dave Dumont had when he was on council, and we haven't made any changes since Dave left. A lot of these groups haven't met for a number of years, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what the purpose of some of these groups are, but anyway, we can hash through that when you come back here in December. So, Brian, if this is your last full meeting, I want to say thank you, number one.
Thank you.
I've appreciated your steady leadership through the meetings. I think you have a sense from when to hit the gas and when to hit the brakes, and I've appreciated that. So I'll miss our conversations. We normally talk on Fridays. We may still have to do that anyway, just out of habit. And then also the debriefings that we do after the meetings. You and I always seem to be the last ones to leave the building the nights that we have council meetings. So I miss those discussions as well. I know you're still going to be around.
Not far away.
And, I know where you live.
Real close.
I'll miss working with you, but I've enjoyed the last couple of years, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely.
The only other thing I would add is, as Jennifer said, I hope everybody has a very happy and safe Thanksgiving with all their families. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, council comments. Let's see, we started with your meeting last month, I think. Bill Kaznicki.
Okay.
That might have been the opposite, I don't know.
Just a couple of items. I happened to be out and about on Sunday, and I drove over to Claire Miller Park. I kept forgetting to go over there and see how everything was looking, and it just turned out Dave had just gotten out of his car, Administrator Gillum, and we walked around a little bit, and it's beautiful. It really is. And I had not seen, a drone picture, but I think we should be very, very proud of all the work that has been done. A long time coming, long time coming, but it looked great. I just wanted to touch a little bit on the election. I was lucky enough, I've been working the elections for, I don't know, maybe 4 years or so. We had 4 different elections this year. It was a lot of work, but that last one was unbelievable. From before we even opened up the doors, people were in line, and it was non-stop. In this location alone, there's 2 precincts here, in case you didn't know. We had 754 people come. A lot of young people and a lot of older people who haven't been to the polls in a long time.
And that was with early voting, too.
And that's with, early voting and stuff. And people would drive by and they see the line outside. They come back a couple hours later and see the line outside. We were held up to the extent that we only had 10 booths down here. I think we probably could have, it's up to, Commerce Township, they set the booths up, but maybe could have had 2 more. But, I mean, people were just waiting, and it was a long ballot, if you remember, so it took quite a while to do. So, anyway, I just wanted to mention that. I want to thank
Ryan?
the guy that was...
Ryan.
Dave Labor?
Dave Labor, yes. That was good information on the audio feedback. You don't tell us, we don't know. I mean, so I think that was good feedback. And I think his idea of the candidates coming for election, announcing them and introducing them, I think that's a great idea. I don't know, I've never done that before, so thank you.
Well, we used to have the Women's League of Voters that would canvass. I mean, they were out there a couple times when I ran, and the other thing is we used to have the press.
Yes, we don't.
Oakland Press we used to have articles in Oakland Press. They'd run under a spinal column.
I know.
We don't have either anymore, really, basically.
So I think that's a real good idea. So, I want to welcome you too, Pastor Ron. I think that's fantastic. That's really unbelievably fantastic that you're coming on board. And I'm sure your services will be really appreciated and needed. And as Dave and everybody else has already said, I welcome and congratulations to everybody who made it back on the board and to Aaron. So we'll see you next month and take care for Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Mr. Duff.
So congratulations to everybody that won an election. Welcome, Aaron. Welcome, Ron. Thank you for doing what you do. And basically, everybody have a safe and happy Thanksgiving. And any deer hunters out there, be safe going into the woods. Good luck Friday. So.
Watch out for you.
Say happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Again, congratulations on the election. I'm glad everyone turned out this year. It's awesome to see. Participation. Ron, welcome. Thank you for all your services. They are well needed. And just everyone stay safe this month. Look forward to seeing you next month.
Good deal. Thank you. Bill?
Yes, happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and all your honors. Make sure you're very careful and safe. Ron, thank you. Aaron, congratulations. Mark and Mike and Aaron, congratulations, and have a healthy and safe month till we meet again.
Mike?
Next. Chief, so thank you for the addition, Pastor Ron, to your team. I think it's a great addition. Congratulations, Aaron. Aaron, congratulations. Mark, congratulations. It's nice sitting, it's been fun sitting next to you for the election. Brian, thank you for the leadership in your direction. So, and we'll have the next meeting.
Momentarily. Right.
December 9th is the blood drive. Still time to sign up there. December 15th is Snacks with Santa. Advertising's out for that, and that sells out quick. We'll be on the lookout for notices about the decorating contest and letters to Santa. I'd like to thank Ryan Martini for coming out, giving us that great report from the Water Board. Pastor Ron, wonderful addition. Hope people are able to use your services when needed. I'd like to thank our council for all the work that we've invested this year, all the money we've invested in our parks. Having dealt with parks for a while now, it's really exciting to see the changes and the responses from the people who are using them and how much they're enjoying pickleball courts, the hockey, the new playground, and so forth. And I know the Cycle Challenge course, once that gets in, it'll be nice not to just have a bunch of dirt mountains and stuff that are, no more King of the Hill.
They've been there for 30 years.
It'll be great to see. And, happy Thanksgiving, and then congratulations to everybody in the elections and to the big winner, Brian, who gets to go home and relax.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. And I'll make it short. Great to see the turnout for the election, and congratulations to Aaron and Mike and Mark. And I think it's going to be a great council. I'm going to be glad to be able to sit in the audience, possibly, or relax at home and see what's going on. Like I said, I'm not going to be far, right around the corner. But wish you all the luck, and I know you'll do a great job. So, Pastor Ron, that's great. That's a great thing. And Chief, thanks for getting that in place. That's going to be very helpful for the village. We've accomplished a lot of great things the last couple of years, and the parks do look awesome. So I know they've been used a lot already, and next year, next spring, it'll be even more, I'm sure. Safe hunting. I'm going to be starting early tomorrow morning, but I know there's going to be a lot of people out there, so be careful and make sure everybody has a safe and happy Thanksgiving. Go Lions. With that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Duff, second by Newman, of course. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you and good evening.